Today we're going to continue solving systems by substitution. So there are a couple of steps to take when you're solving by substitution. First, solve for one variable in one of the equations. Now this sometimes may already be in the right form, but if not, choose one variable, x or y, and solve for that in one of the equations. Usually there might be one equation where it might be easier to get that variable by itself. Once you've done that, then you'll substitute in for that variable in the other equation. And then once you've substituted, there will only be one variable in there. You'll solve for that variable. And then once you've solved for that variable, you'll plug that into either equation to find the second variable. All right, take a look at example 1. So you'll notice here that the first equation already has one of the variables by itself, right? Y equals negative 4x plus 5. So what we can do now is we can take negative 4x plus 5 and substitute that in for y in the second equation. This is going to give us 3x minus 2 times, in parentheses, negative 4x plus 5. Now we'll distribute the negative 2. So I have 3x plus 8x minus 10 equals 12. And then now I'm going to solve for x, because x is the only remaining variable. So 3x plus 8x, that's 11x minus 10 equals 12. Add 10 to both sides, and that leaves me with 11x equals 22. Divide both sides by 11, and that gives us x equals 2. Okay, so that gives me x, but I still need to know what y is. So I'm going to take this value for x, and I'm going to substitute that back in to find y. So since I know y is equal to negative 4x plus 5, I'm going to substitute the 2 in for the x. So I have negative 4 times 2 plus 5. And simplifying that gives me negative 3. So I have x equals 2 and y equals negative 3 for my answer. Let's do another example. We have 2x minus y equals 7 and y equals negative 7x plus 11. Again, I have one of the variables already by itself here, in this case in the second equation. So I'm going to substitute the y in the first equation with negative 7x plus 11. So this is going to be 2x minus, and then in parentheses, negative 7x plus 11 equals 7. Now let's distribute that minus. So we have 2x plus 7x minus 11 equals 7. And now I can solve for x. So we have 9x minus 11 equals 7. Add 11 to both sides, that leaves me with 9x equals 18. Divide both sides by 9, and I end up with x is equal to 2. Again, we've only solved for one variable up to this point, so I'm going to need to substitute this 2 in for x to solve for y. So since we had y equals negative 7x plus 11, I'm going to put 2 in for x. So this will be negative 14 plus 11, which is equal to negative 3. So x equals 2, and y is equal to negative 3. Let's take a look at example 3. X equals 2y minus 8, and 3x plus 7y equals 2. This time I have x by itself, so I'm going to substitute 2y minus 8 in for x in the second equation. So this will be 3 times, in parentheses, 2y minus 8 plus 7y equals 2. We'll distribute that 3, so this will be 6y minus 24 plus 7y equals 2. And then now we can solve for y. So let's combine 6y and 7y. That's 13y minus 24 equals 2. Add 24 to both sides. That leaves us with 13y equals 26. divide both sides by 13. So now we have y equals 2. Now to solve for x, I'm going to substitute 2 back in for y. So this will be x equals 2 times 2 minus 8, which is 4 minus 8, so x is equal to negative 4. So our answer here is x equals negative 4 and y equals 2. Let's look at example 4. We have 2x minus 3y equals 13 and 3x plus y equals 3. Now you'll notice here that we don't have one of the variables by itself yet. But it might be easier in the second equation to get y by itself. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to have to subtract 3x from both sides. So y equals 3 minus 3x. And now I can substitute 3 minus 3x in for y in the first equation. So that's going to be 2x minus 3 times, in parentheses, 3 minus 3x equals 13. We'll distribute, so we have 2x minus 9 plus 9x equals 13. And now we combine 2x and 9x to give us 11x minus 9 equals 13. Add 9 to both sides. So we have 11x equals 22. Divide both sides by 11, and we have x equals 2. Now, to solve for y, we'll take x equals 2 and substitute that in. So we have y equals 3 minus 3 times 2, which is 3 minus 6, which is negative 3. So in this case, we have x equals 2 and y equals negative 3. Okay, let's do one more example. We have negative 3x minus 4y equals 2 and 3x plus 3y equals negative 3. Neither x or y is by itself. So we're going to pick one of the variables and solve for it. Let's say we decide to use the second equation, and let's say we're going to solve for y. So in the second equation, I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. So I have 3y equals negative 3 minus 3x. Get y completely by itself by dividing both sides by 3. So we have y equals negative 1 minus 1x. And now I can substitute negative 1 minus 1x in for y in the first equation. So this is negative 3x minus 4 times, parentheses, negative 1 minus 1x equals 2. Let's distribute that negative 4. So now I have negative 3x plus 4 plus 4x equals 2. I can add the negative 3x and the 4x together, and that gives me 1x, or just x, plus 4 equals 2. Subtract 4 from both sides, and that gives me x equals negative 2. Now we'll substitute negative 2 in for x. So I'm going to use the equation y equals negative 1 minus 1x. So this will be y equals negative 1 minus 1 times negative 2. So this is the same as negative 1 plus 2, which is equal to positive 1. So in this problem, we have x equals negative 2 and y equals 1.